In a time when inflation continues to rise and the cost of living seems to climb each day, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, especially if you rely on Social Security or Supplemental Security Income SSI to make ends meet. But what if we told you that there's an upcoming relief package designed specifically to ease some of that financial burden? On August 12th, the Social Security Administration SSA is set to release a new schedule of payments, 3 relief checks, each worth up to $7,500, designed to provide vital assistance to Social Security, SSI, and SSDI beneficiaries. If you've been struggling with the rising prices of everyday necessities, this is a moment you won't want to miss. The financial strain that many seniors and those on disability face has been escalating, with rising healthcare costs, skyrocketing prescription prices, and soaring grocery bills. Social Security, SSI, and SSDI benefits were never meant to carry the full weight of a person's living expenses, but for millions, they are the backbone of their financial security. That's why these new relief checks are so important. They represent a critical lifeline for those who need it most right now. But how do you qualify? When exactly can you expect these payments? And how can you make sure you don't miss out on this much-needed financial relief? The SSA has taken a significant step by introducing this new payment schedule, designed to help you get the support you need when it matters most. This video will guide you through every important detail so you don't miss a single dollar. We'll break down the new payment schedule, explain who is eligible for these relief checks, and provide actionable steps to ensure that your bank account is ready to receive the funds without delay. In the coming moments, we'll walk through all the essential information you need to know about this new SSA relief initiative. Stay tuned to learn exactly how these relief checks will benefit you, and why August 12th could be the financial relief you've been waiting for. As we dig deeper into the relief checks that are about to hit bank accounts on August 12th, it's crucial to understand what exactly these checks mean for the millions of Americans who rely on Social Security, Supplemental Security Income SSI, and Social Security Disability Insurance SSDI for their livelihood. For many, these programs have been a safety net, a lifeline, ensuring that basic needs are met when working isn't an option. Yet, over time, inflation and increased living expenses have eroded the power of these benefits. The checks set to be distributed this August represent a rare and significant step to help bridge that gap. One of the key things that sets this round of payments apart is the sheer size of the relief checks. $7,500. That's not a small sum by any stretch, especially for those on fixed incomes who may have been seeing their savings dwindle due to higher healthcare costs, rising energy bills, or the everyday essentials that seem to get more expensive by the month. But here's the question that many people are likely asking. How did these checks come about? Why are they so substantial? And how does this fit into the larger picture of financial relief for seniors and those with disabilities? To answer this, we first need to understand the context behind these payments. The COVID-19 pandemic may be over, but its effects are still very much being felt. The economic fallout from lockdowns, supply chain disruptions, and sudden job losses has had a lasting impact on the economy. While there have been stimulus checks and other relief measures throughout the pandemic, those were primarily designed to help working Americans who lost their jobs temporarily or faced significant wage reductions. However, seniors and people with disabilities were often left behind. Their fixed incomes were simply not enough to meet the rapidly rising costs of living, and the government recognized that there was a growing need to address this issue. In response to these pressures, lawmakers began to push for additional relief measures specifically targeted at the most vulnerable groups. This led to the decision to provide direct financial assistance in the form of these relief checks. It's not just a one-off payment either. These 3 checks are part of a larger initiative to provide ongoing support for those who need it most. The first of these checks will be distributed on August 12th, with the subsequent payments following a few weeks after. While it's clear that $7,500 won't completely solve the financial challenges faced by many on Social Security, SSI, or SSDI, it does provide a much-needed buffer, allowing recipients to breathe a little easier and perhaps catch up on overdue bills or essential medical expenses. Now, while this news is certainly exciting, there's also a lot of confusion about who is eligible for these relief checks and how people can ensure they receive them. Fortunately, the Social Security Administration has provided clear guidelines on eligibility. Generally speaking, if you are receiving Social Security benefits, SSI, or SSDI, you are eligible to receive one of these payments. However, there are certain details that might affect the timing and amount of the relief check you receive, depending on your particular situation. If you're not sure about the status of your information, now is a great time to log into your SSA account and double-check everything. Make sure your address, direct deposit information, and phone number are correct, as any discrepancies could delay your payment. The good news is that if you've already been receiving Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits, there's a good chance that you're already in the SSA system, and they'll use that existing information to process your check. However, if you haven't filed your taxes in a while, or there's been any disruption in your benefits, it's a good idea to reach out to the SSA as soon as possible to avoid any delays. For those of you who may not be entirely comfortable with online systems, don't worry. The SSA still offers options for you to get help via their toll-free customer service line. While wait times can sometimes be long, it's worth calling to confirm that you're on track to receive your payment. It's a bit of legwork, but it'll be worth it when the relief check lands in your account. Another point of confusion surrounding these checks is whether they're taxable. As of now, the good news is that these relief checks are not considered taxable income. So you won't have to worry about paying taxes on the $7,500 you receive. This is a direct financial boost to your budget, and it's not something you'll have to account for when you file your taxes next year. However, if you have questions about the taxability of any other assistance you've received, such as unemployment benefits or stimulus payments, it's always a good idea to consult with a tax professional to get the most accurate advice for your specific situation. But beyond the mechanics of eligibility and payment processing, the real question is what this financial relief really means for seniors and people with disabilities in the context of the broader economic picture. If you've been struggling to keep up with rising prices for essential goods, these payments couldn't come at a better time. The cost of healthcare, including insurance premiums, prescription medications, and out-of-pocket medical expenses, has skyrocketed in recent years. For seniors, who often rely on Medicare or Medicaid, these increases can be especially burdensome. The relief checks provide an opportunity to offset some of these rising costs, allowing recipients to get back on track financially. In addition, rising energy costs, whether it's heating your home in the winter or cooling it in the summer, are putting an additional strain on household budgets. With utility bills climbing and the cost of gas spiking, the relief checks will be a vital buffer for many families. If you've been choosing between paying for groceries or paying for utilities, the arrival of this extra cash could provide some much-needed breathing room. It's also a great opportunity to catch up on bills, pay down debt, or even make a small investment in improving your living situation. For those of you who rely on Social Security or SSI for your daily expenses, it's important to remember that this relief is not a permanent fix. While it's certainly a much-needed boost, the larger issues, such as rising inflation, the challenge of keeping up with living costs on a fixed income, and ongoing healthcare struggles, are not going away anytime soon. The real question is whether this relief will spark broader changes in the way the government addresses the financial needs of its senior citizens and those with disabilities. Is this the start of a new trend in government support? Will we see more relief checks in the future to keep up with the rising costs of living? Or will the government continue to rely on temporary measures that only provide short-term relief? One thing's for sure, these payments represent a shift in the government's approach to supporting its most vulnerable populations. It's clear that lawmakers are taking notice of the financial strain that many seniors and people with disabilities are facing. While it's uncertain what long-term solutions will emerge, these relief checks signal that change is on the horizon. Perhaps we'll see more comprehensive reforms in Social Security and SSI benefits moving forward, especially as the nation grapples with the challenges of an aging population and growing economic inequality. So while the arrival of these relief checks is a welcome and much-needed development, it's important to stay informed, make sure you're eligible, and ensure that your information is up to date with the SSA. Don't miss out on this financial lifeline that could help ease some of the pressure you've been facing. Whether you're planning to pay off bills, save for future medical expenses, or simply have some extra room in your budget for the things you enjoy, these checks represent an important opportunity for you to reclaim a little financial stability in uncertain times.